Hello, welcome to today's video. I'm exploring something new today. I thought I would try this Brusho set. So this is just a little sample thing that I have, introductory packed. So it's little powdery crystals of color. And I was told that you can get some really cool effects similar to alcohol inks with these. But instead of using alcohol, we use water to move the colors around. So I just wanted to have a quick play around with them. Let's see, there's lots of different shades of color in there, so there's definitely a good variety that you can work with. It also shows you different ways that you can work with the color. So we've got the spray technique. You can even do some bubble wrap printing type thing. I suppose that you can paint with it as well. You can use bleach. I guess you can add some beads and 3D effects in there, and you can also use it in a thicker texture as well. But I'm just going to play around with the basics today. So we've got this cute little introductory pack, and in there is we have different colors. So unfortunately they come in just a white container, so it's hard to know what the colors are, but you could put a little sample on the top. So I've got purple, yellow, leaf green, brilliant red, and also turquoise. So this, I believe, is for the thickening agent. Yes. So I may not play with that today. That will be for another day. But I'm going to pull these colors out. I believe there's a cool trick of putting a pin in here so you can just shake it out. But today I'm just going to use my little palette knife just to get the color out. Okay, so I'm going to start with my turquoise. It's one of my favorite colors. Oh, and it fell out of the container. I'll just try and put that back in there. Okay, so I'm just going to spray this. There's a little bit on there actually, so let's see what happens when I spray it. Just get that paper wet. So we've got some red coming through. So just using the tip of this, I know a little bit goes a long way, so I'm just going to sprinkle that on there. And spray a little bit heavier. Really get that color coming out. Let's move these out of the way. And then I can tip this as well, like I would with my alcohol inks. I would do the same thing. So move them around like that. What else do we have? We have a brilliant red, so let's give that a go. I think that's what I have a little bit on there already. Well, it's kind of fun. You definitely get some cool things. So let's try blowing it around a little bit as well. I'm going to dab some of that color, the water away. Okay, let's try a little bit of yellow as well. Let's maybe bring in the brush, see how it works with applying the water a little bit more evenly with that brush. And using the red tip, just kind of sprinkle that in. But you really get some cool effects happening. Here, let's zoom in just a little bit. I love that. Let's move this around a little bit more. There's a lot of red on there, so I'm actually going to dab a little bit more off as well. And then maybe I'll put some yellow over there. Maybe we'll get a bit of a more of an orangey kind of color. So I'm just using water, spread that on with a brush. See how it moves? It's just getting dissolves in that that liquid, but you also get left with a few particles sitting on top as well. Quite like what's happening in here. So it definitely moves differently to the inks. They don't move around quite as easily, but you can definitely drag them. If anyone's ever worked with watercolors, when you get your brush in there and just drag that water away from where it's sitting. So that works quite nicely on the yupo. Just getting a clean brush so I don't mix the colors too much. So when we mix too many colors, we start to get mud like that. I'm gonna dab some of this away as well. It's quite nice to have the little pops of white in there peeking through. Just add a little bit more water to this bit, just so it dissolves a little bit more, and then we get that stronger color coming through. A little bit of orange or yellow over there. It's quite nice how it just runs away with itself. Let's put a little bit more turquoise on there. I'm just trying to drag it through into those other colors just to see what kind of patterns and effects that we can get. So where there's more pigment, this definitely will sit a little bit stronger, and it pushes the other color out of the way. Just kind of how alcohol inks tend to do that as well. A little bit more pigment over here just to get this a little bit bolder. I want to get some stronger yellow in there as well. See how it pushes it out of the way? More of an orangey color. It's more of an orangey color than yellow, really. But just say yellow. It's quite nice. I love how bright it is. I'm not really loving this bit here. It seems to be dulling out a little bit, so I'm just going to dab it off. I think this is the nice thing about the using the yupo. You can definitely correct bits that you're not loving. So let's come in with a little bit of purple in there. Let's see how that sits. Sprinkle some, and then we'll go a little bit heavier in here. Sorry about that dog. If you can hear the dog barking outside. Let's move. I love this. So it's kind of a balance between having too much water on there, I think, and not enough. Obviously you want it to dissolve those colors. And when you have lots, you get this really soft blending. But if you want harsher or more kind of more definement, I guess, is to have a little less water in your. Let's soak up some of that. But it's quite nice to go back in and just dab a little bit of it away. And then we'll just move this around and drag it over. And maybe let's go back in with just a little bit more red. So I quite like how that's looking. It's got a pretty cool effect. I'm just not loving this bit right here, so I'm going to try and soak some of that up. And then a little bit over here as well. So I think, yeah, I think I used way too much water in the beginning. I think just a little bit, adding a little bit of water at a time works quite nicely. Especially on the yupo, because you can really spread it around. A little bit goes a long way and it sits right on there. So it's probably going to take a while for that to dry. So I'm going to leave that for now. And then I'm going to come in and do a piece on some watercolor paper. Okay, so let's try with some watercolor paper. I imagine that it's going to sit on top but also absorb into like it would with normal watercolor paper. So with some clean water, I'm just going to get a thin coat down. So obviously this soaks into the paper a little bit, but it should have enough on there that we still get some movement when we add in our powder. So let's start with some yellow. Just sprinkle that. So there's little bits of red in there. I think that's why we're getting the orange that comes through. But it's quite nice. I do like it. So I'm just adding a bit more water right onto the grains that haven't quite dissolved. Let's do that again. So I think the spray was a little heavy-handed for the yupo, but let's see how it works, if it works better on the watercolor paper. I just think it can handle the water a little bit better than the yupo can. So then let's add in some, let's go in with some purple. Oh yeah, it works quite nicely when you've got that water in there. Look at that. That's pretty cool. So when you use watercolor, if you come in with a wet brush, and I'm imagining this will work kind of the same way, and you come right up to the edge, you can drag that and move that color just with a slightly damp brush. We've got some really cool patterns happening in here as well. Dab away a little bit of this water. It's collected and pooled a little too much. And let's use some red in this one as well. So I don't have any water over here, so let's add that first and then wet it. See if I can blow it around or not. I'm just trying to vary up the tones and the colors in here. There's some really kind of cool things happening in here as well. I should have torn this off so I didn't ruin my piece underneath, but that's okay. Okay, I'm just going to dry this for a minute. Okay, so I was wondering what would happen if we spritz this after the fact. So I'm just going to spray it from far away to see if it moves. And I don't think it does. No. But let's add some more color in there, see if we get a little bit more interest happening. So I'm going to get all my colours down first onto the dry sheet because it's dry now. Apart from those little bits that I sprayed, and then spray it. See what kind of effects we get. So it's definitely not moving the same way as it did on the yupo, but it's kind of cool in its own way. I think it's a little bit more reminiscent of watercolor. It's just a little bit brighter. For me personally, I think I prefer the yupo. Just as it's drying here, you can kind of see the different textures and the different shapes that we've got in there. Still drying a little bit on that corner, but it's quite nice that I'm just able to move it around as I would with the inks. So I'm going to let those two dry, and then when they're fully dry I will take a picture and add that to the end of the video. So let me know your comments below if you've played around with these yourself, if you've had experience on different surfaces. I would love to hear from you how you think they compare to alcohol inks. I would love to know. For me, there's nothing quite like alcohol inks, but it's nice to have options and different mediums to play with. So until next week, don't forget to click that subscribe and that bell button, and you will be updated when I post a new video. And until then, have a good week, folks.